am Rachel. Apprehension over spending of COVID-19 funds in states. The kickers, CSOs call for accountability. Kobo spent. This is coming from governors. Federal government to inject 2.3 trillion naira into economy to tackle post-COVID-19 recession. Saudi Arabia considers cancelling 2020 Hajj. Clinical trials on the way to evaluate plasma of recovered patients. Resident doctors begin nationwide strike today. FCTA shuts Jabi Lake Mall over Naira Marley's show. The picture is that of Yobe State Governor Mai Malam Buni, Chief Whip of the House of Representatives Mohammed Munguno, and Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Umar Zulum during the APC Northeast meeting in Gombe at the weekend. Beside the picture, COVID-19 update as of June 14, 2020. Confirmed cases 16,085. Discharged patients 5,220. Number of deaths 420. This is coming from NCDC. Presidency hits back at PDP and others, says opposition justifying attacks on President Muhammadu Buhari with Villa incidents. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 4. On page 19, reps oppose ban of Standard Organization of Nigeria, NAFDAC, from all ports and borders. You are father of democracy, Niger's governor tells General Abdulsalam at 78. See the details on page 15. The bottom strip stories. No 23 billion naira missing in SDG's office. This is coming from the federal government. The story can be found on page 12. On page 14, Northern states at the mercy of armed gangs, says Northern Elders Forum. Court bars IGP, orders from Boa mining sites. The story can be found on page 2. On page 15, 3-month-old baby defiled. Another student raped and killed. Page 42, Dangote exports clinker, boosts federal government's forex drive. That story is on page 42. Then above the list story, disqualification. APC governors move to save Obaseki. Edo governor visits PDP counterparts. Ondo deputy governor's defection bid suffers setback. Story starts from the front page and it continues on page 10. The last story on leadership newspaper. NAF faring better under democracy. This is coming CAS, C-A-S. And the story can be found on page 2. Next is the Blueprint newspaper, and I'll take it from the top below the masthead. NEF, that is the Northern Elders Forum, not now at bandits, kidnappers' mercy. The kickers, forum irritant, featherweight. This is coming from Presidency. MBF, that is the Middle Belt Forum, condemns fresh killings in Benue, urges government intervention. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 6. On page 26, annual inflation to rise towards 12.50%. This is a report. 2020 wet season. 70,000 farmers to get CBN support. See the details on page 25. The lead story on Blueprint newspaper. APC governors move to rescue Obaseki. The kickers, we are watching, says PDP. Obaseki, Wike meet. Edo APC faction wants governor expelled. The story can be found on page 6. And we have this picture of some sympathizers watch a bridge by Saturday night's heavy rain at Ilori, Kwara State capital. Sunday, 4 people feared dead in the incident. And the second picture is that of a salon car also washed away by flood. Buhari not endangered by State House shooting. See the details on page 5. The bottom strip stories on page 15. Barakat reviews sexual violence laws with stiffer penalties. This is coming from the group. That's on page 15. Investors scrambled for third sovereign sukuk. See the details on page 25. Cross River NLC threatens strike over wages. The story can be found on page 18. And the last story on the Blueprint newspaper on page 26. COVID-19. Importation of capital goods falls by 35.5%. Lowers trade deficit. We go to this day newspaper, now take it from the top. Dangote boosts diversification with maiden clinker shipment to Senegal. MAN louds export drive, that is the Manufacturers Organization of Nigeria, louds export drive. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 9. On page 8, World Bank. With more transparency, federal government recovers $3 billion from oil sector. Below the masthead, Obaseki Palace Wike, Emmanuel, National Working Committee over Edo governor ticket. The kicker, to meet PDP South-South governors and aspirants to take final decision after consulting Buhari. APC governors pledge to resolve Edo undue crisis. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 9. And the lead story, Buhari orders probe into State House shooting. President not in harm's way from incident or COVID-19, says presidency. Confirms First Lady security aides breached Aso Rock regulations. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 9. On page 5, presidency. Northern elders trade accusations over insecurity. And the last here is the picture saying perfecting his next move. Edo State Governor Mr. Godwin Obaseki and his River State counterpart Mr. Nyesom Wike during a visit to the latter in Port Harcourt. This happened yesterday. We go to the next paper this morning, New Telegraph. I'll take it from the lead story. Edo governorship poll. Obaseki Palace PDP governors. Consult Wike Emmanuel over planned defection. And the kickers, APC governors angry over Obaseki's disqualification. Aggrieved party leaders renew plot to oust Oshomole. See the details on page 25. And we have these COVID-19 global cases so far. 7,961,326. Global recovery, 4,072,970. Global deaths, 434,475. Below the picture, presidency probes shooting inside Aso Rock, says Buhari safe from attacks, COVID-19. See the details on page 26. And the bottom strip story, late dinner may lead to weight gain. The story can be found on page 26. Then we go above the masthead. Nigeria supplies 32.04 billion naira electricity to Togo, Benin, Niger on credit. Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, debt threatens industry's viability. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 26. On page 24, COVID-19, FCD projects 12.47% inflation rate for May. See the details on page 24. And below the masthead, BUA secures court nod to continue mining operations. See the details on page 25. And on that same page, BUA's claims on mining side misleading. This is coming from the Dangote Group. Federal government mulls multi-billion-dollar oil contract renegotiation. The story can be found on page 17. And finally, on New Telegraph newspaper, on page 25, Lagos goes after Ikoyi Banana Island landlords, sells 22 houses. That story is on page 25. We pause here to go for a short break. When we return, newspaper headlines continues with more. Please stay tuned.
Not that I mean to undermine polytechnics, they do a good job, but university education is actually more valuable.
What teacher is supposed to do is to identify those people that are very, very slow in learning.
When you discover your child is not performing well in a particular subject, it's for you to encourage the child and find out ways to assist the child.
I don't give respect to the school in which you graduated from. What I see in you and I expect is what you can offer. And this is what polytechnic education equipped the graduate with.
There's no longer white-collar jobs. They are nowhere to be found. The population is increasing on a daily basis and the government cannot provide all the needed jobs for the boarding youths.
It's the doctor that the patient has to get a prescription for. The reason is that when the patient comes, the patient gets a card and is directed to see the physician.
Thank you for staying tuned. Let's go through the rest dailies. I'll start with Nigerian pilots and I'll take it below the masthead. Shooting in Aso Rock. Buhari orders investigation. See the details on page 6. On page 10, defection looms as Obaseki visit Wike in Port Harcourt. The lead story, Bloodbath. Boko Haram kills 20 soldiers, 40 civilians in Borno. Injures cause in twin attacks in Mongono and Ganzal local government areas. Army insists it repelled attack with high casualties. 10 persons killed in another clash in Agatu, Benue State. See the details on page 8. And the picture is that of Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki meets with his River State counterpart, Governor Nyesom Wike, at the River State Government House yesterday. Nigeria will go bankrupt with current governance structure. This is coming from Sanusi. See the details on page 5. The bottom 3 stories on page 8. Togo, Niger, Benin owe Nigeria 32.04 billion naira for electricity supplied in 2019. This is coming from the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission. That is on page 8. Edo 2020. UI faults APC screening committee. Says it issued only one certificate to Obaseki. See the details on page 5. Federal Capital Territory shuts down Jabi Lake Mall over Naira Marley's concert. See the details on page 10. And on page 5, anti-banditry operations. NAF takes fight to bandits enclave. 500 illegal miners arrested in Ondo mining sites. See the details on page 7. And the last story on Nigerian pilots. Published details of 800 billion naira recovered loot. Serap tells Buhari on page 8. Next is Nigerian Tribune, and I'll take it from the top. Not at mercy of armed gangs, Northern elders lament. Says Buhari, governors have lost control. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 4. Below the masthead, Buhari orders probe into Villas shooting incidents. See the details on page 3. On page 2, Igodalo's wife, Ibidun, dies in Port Harcourt. The story can be found on page 2. On page 27, 10 killed, 20 missing in Benue communal clashes. 10 killed, 20 missing in Benue communal clash. The details can be found on page 27. Then the lead story, Edo, APC governors in fresh move to save Obaseki as he visits Wike. Udom says, my next move will be made known after I meet with Buhari. Appeal committee can't uphold the matter. Never appealed. The story can be found on page 6. And beside the picture, Ondo Guba, fresh crisis trails Ondo deputy governor's PDP moves. See the details on page 5. On page 27, FCTA tax team seals of mall where Naira Marley performed. 2020 budget review not about austerity. 2020 budget review not about austerity. Not about austerity measure. This is coming from the minister, and the story can be found on page 23. The picture, TF3 feared dead in Ilori as bridge collapses. See the details on page 26. And the last story on Nigerian Tribune, COVID-19, how federal government will fund 2.3 trillion naira stimulus package as 40% households live on 11,000 naira monthly. See the details on page 24. Next is Business Day newspaper, and I'll take it from the lead story. Nigeria's FX demand backlog near 2016 crisis levels of $7 billion. The kickers, Nigeria losing investor confidence. International banks pull plugs on local lenders. Manufacturers unable to open letters of credit. Foreign investors shut out of cheap Nigerian stocks over repatriation worries. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 31. An inside story. Experts to brainstorm at Business Day's national discourse on Nigeria's COVID-19 response. Story can be found on page 30. ANAP Foundation COVID-19 think tank recommends measures as Nigeria scrambles to secure livelihoods. Local epidemiological data shows rising infectious curve. That story starts from the front page and it continues on page 31. On that same page, which happens to be the last story, court restrains Dangote, Nigerian police from interfering with BUA's operations of Okpela mines. Story starts from the front page and it continues on page 31. And that is the much we can take on today's edition on newspaper headlines. Thank you for watching. Till next week come your way. If you will do your part and keep believing, at the right time, God will bring you out with victory. Have a glorious week and stay blessed. Bye-bye.